The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
GCMS podcast. I am author Tanisha R. Franklin, the author of the series God Changed My Story. Here with me tonight is my co-host, also author Cynthia Betts. We are so excited to be on tonight, recording episode 7.
I know.
Ooh, so like we just started in January. It has been good.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have a great topic tonight, but before I get into the topic and read the scripture, I do have a scripture going with our topic. I want to remind you to please follow us on our IG page, Facebook, and TikTok at God Changed My Story. Better yet, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can have updates on the podcast and also any of our books that you see up here at GCMS, capitalize, God Changed My Story. So are you ready?
I am.
Are you ready for this topic?
I stay ready.
Okay, so if you guys have been following us and watching our podcast, you will see in February we talked about this topic. Sorry, y'all. About this topic. The topic tonight is, why is forgiveness important? And I added a second part to it. And why should we forgive? So I did add the scriptures that we talked about in February's podcast. We came from Matthew 6:14 and 15, and also Ephesians 4:31 and 32. So I added another one as I was going, because there's so many scriptures that we can go off of when we're doing it. I'm going to read only one, so please check out Matthew 6:14 through 15 and Ephesians 4:31 and 32, or go back to February where you can hear those scriptures. But the one that I added is Colossians 3 and 13. So I'm going to read that. It says, bearing with one another and forgiving one another. If anyone has a grievance against another, just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you are also to forgive. So I read that from Tony Evans, so it's going to read a little bit different in whatever Bible you're reading for. But I wanted to add that, but all of these kind of tie in together on our topic that we are going to be doing tonight, or discussing tonight, sorry. So, you want to jump into this, or you want me to?
You can kick it off, and I'll jump in.
Okay, so I am going to, what we talked about in February, I'm just going to go over the 2 questions that we did discuss, and we added a new one to discuss tonight. So the topics we talked about in February was, why is it important for people to forgive? And then 2, what is forgiveness and how does it look? So I'm just going to read all 3 of them, because a lot of times we get into these questions and we already talk about them, and we don't talk about the other questions because we're already putting it all in together. Mm-hmm. So the third one we add, does forgiveness help us move into our purpose or move forwards? So let's get into that.
That's a good one.
You want me to start it off?
Yeah, kick it off.
I kick it off since you did host last month.
Kick it off.
I kick it off since you did all the work last one. I just answered questions.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go to question 3. Does forgiveness help us move into our purpose or move on? I'm gonna say yes to that, because a lot of times we do not realize when we have unforgiveness, it holds us back from our purpose, for one, and then 2, it holds us back from a lot of things. Sometimes what we don't understand is that we are asking God for things. We're asking God to open doors, whether it's with finances, a new house, a new car, or even healing, whatever it is that we are asking God for. But sometimes God is waiting on us. And the one thing that we forget about, that we don't know how to forgive. And I can say that to myself, about myself. So maybe y'all don't have this issue, but I know that I've had this issue throughout my life. Even in these books, I talk about forgiving my father. I talk about forgiving just my son's father. All these things I talked about, not knowing, once I begin to forgive, things begin to open. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times I say this a lot too, we are adults. We are grown women, grown men, but we're grown on the outside, but the inside, we're still a little girl, little boy, because we are dealing with past hurts and past pain. And it could be from anything. It could be from our parents. It could be from a past relationship. It could be from our kids. But because of the fact that we could say that we forgive, but when you come around, I'm turning my nose up at you, then I don't forgive. Or your name comes up, I'm like, And even on social media, y'all, because some of y'all know, y'all probably be going through the scrolling and stalking people and then turning your face up. But you still, even though people don't know, God knows. God sees everything. And I think that people don't understand that. They think that behind closed doors, they can say whatever they want.
Right.
And then in person, they don't have to say that. But God hears everything. He even knows what we think.
Yeah.
You can say prayer in your head. God hears that.
Absolutely.
Or you can say something negative. I could be sitting here right now with you, and I could be thinking, I can't stand here. God hear it.
Yeah.
So my thing is, when I began to learn about forgiveness, I think I was in my 20s. My oldest son was young. And I was going to church. Going to church, paying my tithes, offering. I'm working in a church. But the question was, I was at a women's event that my first lady was doing. And she asked, how many people have unforgiveness? And I'm like, everybody raised a hand. And I raised my hand because I had that unforgiveness against my father. But yet the question was that if God comes back today, do you think you're going to heaven? And I was like, ooh, that's deep. Because in my mind, I'm going to heaven. I'm doing this, this, and this, and this. But the scripture says that if I don't forgive, he's not going to forgive me. So why would I allow something to hinder me? So let me let you get on.
And that was one of the things that I was thinking about over in Matthew, where he talks about if we do not forgive, then our Heavenly Father will not forgive us.
Yes.
But forgiveness is such a tricky thing because sometimes we think that because time has been put in place or we've distanced ourselves from this individual or this situation that we have forgiven.
Yes.
And we say that we forgive because it's such a common thing to say, I forgive you. But deep down, behind the scenes, internally, like you just mentioned, we happen to see that individual or someone mentions their name and here come all these unresolved, you know what I'm saying, emotions and different things to that nature. But forgiveness is so important because it's liberating. It's not so much liberating for the one that offended.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Good,
but the one that's been offended is liberating for you because holding grudges, forgiveness creates all kind of things. It can produce sickness. Holding grudges can eternally be cankerous and eat at you, and you don't even know why different things are popping off or happening in your life because you haven't really dug down and dealt with that issue. You put space and time in things.
You do, yes.
And think that, you know what I'm saying, that resolves it or that, I haven't seen this person in 20 years that, did something to me that I didn't like, but I haven't seen them in 20 years and then all of a sudden you happen to be at the same event or see them and then here come all these, things back into place. But forgiveness is so crucial because it directly liberates us from emotional and physical burdens, of holding grudges. And a lot of people hold grudges that you wouldn't believe.
They do. And I'm just laughing because I haven't been there.
Yeah.
It's funny now, like, I haven't been there because my thing is that I am that solid person.
Yeah.
I'm going to be that solid person. But once it ain't like that now, God has been worked on me, but once you cross me, it's like I could forget you even existed. And that was a bad thing. Like, I had to get over that because God don't want that. Like, like, I can act like you don't even exist. I can walk past you doing this to me, I could make it worse. Not knowing that two wrongs don't make it right is making it worse on me for doing these things. But now I'm just like, I be looking at stuff like, I don't got time to be sitting here being petty and holding grudges. Like, when the whole Kenny thing happened, that was a scare because you don't know what's coming after that. Yes, people say, oh, you get a transplant, don't do this, but I could be that 1% or 2% where the kidney don't hang, or I die on the table. You know what I'm saying? So my thought is like, that really made me think like, I don't want to leave here not right, you know. But at the same time, I also think that people feel that because this was a this was a sorry. This was a thing that was asked years ago in Bible study, and people got it confused, and Bishop Dean had to correct on it. They were thinking that because I forgive this person, I still have to deal with them. I mean, it got deep up in there, you know. And I think I was the only one to raise my hand because everybody else was still in an uncomfortable situation, and it was dealing with like rape and being molested. But at this point, I'm like, I'm over this. So I'm like, I'm gonna ask a question because I think that's what they saying, but I want to know too because I know that the person that harmed me, I forgive them, but I'm not gonna bring them around my child. And so that was a question, and he began to say, he kept every time somebody would say, but you know how Bishop do. He said, let God direct your path. Let God. He just kept saying it. I'm like, I think I get what he's saying. I raised my hand. I said, so you're saying that, okay, even though this person touched me, I need to be smart. I mean, go to God and not be upset. Be like, you can't go around kids, but not allow this person in my home. He's like, yeah, let God direct you because God's going to direct you. If that person changed, then okay, he's going to direct you that you can, you know, but you still have to be smart about things, you know, because you're going to still have that where it's like, okay, I forgive you, but you know, it's no trusting. You know what I'm saying? You can't get out of it. It's not saying, they be like, well, you telling me I got to bring this person around. No, that's not what he's saying. If you listen to what he's saying that you have to forgive, that when this person comes, you can say, how you doing? Give him a hug, and I'm praying for you. Oh, you need something like that. But don't be like, hey, come on, you can go to my house. We finna go have a cookout. It does not mean that. So you have to understand. I think that's why it is hard for people to forgive because they feel like they have to accept.
Or that reconciliation and coming back. And see, I look at it a little bit different, you know, through my eyes. I look at it as, you know, in a spiritual aspect because the Father has forgiven us through the Son. And so he's reconciled us back unto him. Now, in the natural, when things happen, people aren't so willing to, you know, let's say best friends, you know, someone betrays, you know, the other. And so they don't want anything to do with that person that has crossed them. And that's their right, you know, right? Because if I'm investing in our friendship, our relationship, and then you take something, you do something, and you cross me that brings me harm, then no, I don't want you to have access to me. But then I look at it also in the spiritual aspect. How can we not allow people to, and I'm not saying just become all buddy, but if we at an event or if we at church or if we're involved in community things, then I'm not going to be so standoffish, even though you've offended me. I'm not going to be so standoffish as to, I don't want to work with you, because in the spiritual aspect, God has reconciled us. God has given us access to him through his Son because of forgiveness. A lot of people don't think like me, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I think they do. I don't think it was more of like if we came together in a church setting or if we had to work together. I think it was more of because it was that type of a, you know, the explanation I was saying, it was more like a rape, like I don't want him back in my house, you know. But if you go to a family event, okay, I think that's where he was saying let God direct you, but also that's the same thing. Like if you go to a family event, you moving away from them, you don't forgive them because I mean you still have something in your heart. If I go to a family event and you hurt me and I see you there and I can't be around you, then you know it's something. It's different if I go and I'm trying to be nice to you and we hurt each other or you mad at me because of whatever situation is and you move away from me. Then I've done my part. Okay, now I'm gonna go here. If I say something to you, you like, oh. Then I did my part. It don't mean I gotta keep but then you know I'll be comfortable and I'll move away from it.
That's true.
Yeah, so I agree with what you're saying because we should be able to work together.
But
that
I'm just saying is such a tricky thing, and it's such a thing to where we say it on the surface, and we actually literally do believe in that we have forgiven this person or that person or whatever the case may be. But when we see that individual, it all comes back. So does forgiveness help us move towards our purpose? I believe it does.
I do too. Yeah.
I believe we can hinder and block a lot of things to where we won't be able to prosper in the totality that God wants for us or have for us, because we really do think that we have forgiven. I'll give you an example. I have a colleague, and this just happened last week, right? So it's fresh.
Okay.
And I'm the one that was offended, right? And me and my colleague used to be very, very close, right? And when this thing was brought to my attention, you know, I had no clue. But when it was brought to my attention last week, you know, my feelings was hurt, right? And so I'm thinking that, why didn't you come to me instead of going to upper management, right?
Yeah.
You know, so we've had a report to where you could have came to me, you know what I'm saying, instead of getting management involved. And so did that change the dynamics of the relationship?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, but then I had to stop and think about it, like, okay, well, I can't treat her any differently. I can't treat her, you know, be mean or anything to that nature, because we work together and we have to deal with clients. She has clients, I have clients. We cross, you know, reference and things to that nature. But on the personal level,
Yes.
will I look at, or will I allow the relationship to, you know, be how it was? I don't think so, because if you couldn't come to me on something as simplistic as, you know, having a conversation about a client or this or that, or a phone call or whatever the case may be, then how can I move forward? Am I holding that against her? No.
Yeah.
We saw each other this morning. We spoke. I spoke back. And that was the gist of it. You know, no animosity or anything to that nature. Now I deal with people accordingly. You know what I'm saying? Am I gonna say no? I can't go to you, or send my people to you, or your people to me?
About you want somebody different.
Yeah.
You don't want her in that position. Can they?
Yeah. So that was something that could have set up root and allowed bitterness and things to take place. But why give my power to that?
Yeah,
why?
that is
You know
true.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's wasted energy.
Yeah.
It's wasted energy. And I just think that what you said, we allow, I mean, kind of what you're saying, that's about feelings. We allow our feelings to get in the way.
Yeah.
Versus think about, you know, the whole situation.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if we really think about, and I think this helped me to better forgive people, is because I'm like, it was meant for a separation at some point with some people in our lives, you know. And I just say
That's a good point.
I don't know what God seen in my father. I know that when I did finally talk to my father at 30-some years, he was hurt. So how would that hurt have affected me if he would have stayed in my life? You know, so I look at things like that, because it's the reason why sometimes God separates it.
Yeah.
You know, and then too, my son and father, we weren't meant to be together. You know, my son was meant to be here, but that was not meant. You know, God had a better plan. Like, this ain't your husband. I'm trying to move him out the way, and you steady want to sit here. It ain't good. I'm trying to move him. But then, you know, I'm trying to get you where I need to get you to, so you can meet your husband, the one I have for you, because otherwise I would have been wasting time.
Right.
And then my husband probably would have, by the time God would have been like, he probably would have showed me by the time I would have finally made it back and got into church. That was supposed to be your husband, but you waited too long, so I gave him to somebody else. You know, God will show you those things, and he'll give you the whys. But a lot of times we have to understand, even with friendships, like, it hurted me. But then I said, God, I understand. Because I see, it's nothing bad against my friend. They are who they are. I am who I am.
Right.
But it was like, okay, I see the separation. I understand it now. Because they're going where they need to go. I'm going where I need to go. I may not be in agreement on where they're going because that's not for me.
Right.
And then they may not be. And sometimes when you have friends can hinder that, not on purpose. They just may say one word and you be like, okay, girl, you right. When God like, no, you know, she right for her because she's not, that's not her purpose. That's your purpose. And so just because of that, God will separate, you know, people. And my thing is that I have no hard feelings. It's like, I want to go where God is taking me, and I want you to go where God is taking you. But at the same time, we have to realize that we all have a purpose and a gift, and our gifts are different.
And
you can do
that's
the same thing.
That's the hardest thing. That right there, and that was a key point.
Yes.
You know, maybe moving in different direction because we think that, you know, people come into our life or we have a relationship or a friendship here that they're supposed to be there forever, you know, and a day, and not realizing that, okay, seasons. You know what I'm saying? There's a time and a season for all things, and I kind of it hurt my feelings. At the same time, I'm like, okay, show some grace. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she felt like that particular thing needed to, you know, be addressed or whatever. And it wasn't nothing damning or anything to that nature. But, you know, I don't know what her reasons were. You know,
But
she did reach out to me. You know, after the fact, you know what I'm saying? I didn't respond, you know, because I'm still processing, like, how, like, every day, we talk, like.
If it was something that you have, because, you know, there's certain things, because I've been in management positions that you got to take to management or upper, because then it will affect your job. But if that's the case, she still could have came and talked to you and said, I still have to go to I got to go to management because this has to be reported because I don't want to lose my job. And then you could have been like, I understand, but still address it to you because you don't want to be blindsided by your manager coming to you about something.
And that's exactly
and how
what
she
it
know
was.
you knew.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know the right. If it's something new to you, you don't know the protocol, or it could be anything. You could have been like, man, you was right. I don't know how I forgot that. You know, I'm busy doing, you know, you doing what you've been doing. Like, man, I got this going on. And it happens. Like accidents happen, mistakes happen. And it's not like if it's a constant mistake, but still talk.
Yeah.
You still need to be talked to about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I decided, like, no, I'm not going to, you know, give that my energy. I'm not going to allow that to make me look at that person differently because they made a decision to, you know, do something instead of coming to me, even though I was blindsided by the situation. But I think you have to grow into that.
You do. Yes, I agree with you on that. Yes.
For that to just be so common, everybody can't yet reach that level of maturity. Now, will the relationship be dissolved? No. You know what I'm saying? But there are boundaries now.
Yes.
There are boundaries that is going to be implemented because of that thing that's done. Am I going to hold it against her? No. I'm not going to hold it against her. So, forgiveness, if you allow it to, it can mend and it can liberate and it can set you free. Because when my superior was, you know, talking to me and telling, and it wasn't nothing but a phone call, you know, after hours, you were staff on call, you know, but it was nothing but a phone call. And in regards to that, you know what I'm saying, I'm like, even still, you couldn't, you know, but nevertheless, once I got past my feelings, you know what I'm saying, I was able to look at the whole thing and was like, not hold it against her. You know what I'm saying? And I think you have to grow into that level of maturity to where you feel like, okay, even though you've offended me, and all offense is not harm.
Correct. That is true. I'm glad you said that.
Didn't harm me. You know what I'm saying? It hurt my feelings because I thought we was at a point to where we can be transparent and forthcoming with one another. And even still, once I processed the whole thing and was like, okay, it's not really a big deal, you know. They already knew what our relationship was, you know, before. I am chewing gum.
No, I'm like, hold on. I'm sorry, it's just funny. Like, we here to talk about it. We here to have fun.
Right.
It's just funny. Like,
It could have been something as
Yes.
simplex as
Yes.
that. And you have a lot of families and siblings that are squabbling after 20, 30, 40 years and not realizing that tomorrow ain't promised to you.
It's not, and it's just that, I'm going to say it's hard too sometimes where one tries and one don't, so sometimes you do. That's where I said Bishop G was saying let God direct you, because I've been in that situation where I've tried and it's just too much trauma, and I ain't gonna say trauma, it's just too much drama. Sorry, not drama. And it's like you don't want to do it. You got to be at peace, and you have to be at peace in your life at some point.
Yeah.
Because it's like you want certain things. Like me, I wanted some of these relationships so bad, but it's like, is it worth it? You know what I'm saying? Is it worth it? I'm not saying that I have anything against them, but I had to distance myself. I had to see that it was okay. And then God came to me and said, oh, you finally get it. Like, I finally get what, God? Because from, the era I grew up in is like blood is thicker than water, but I don't believe in blood is thicker than water, because I've had blood just turn, like, I'm serious. Like, I've had guys separate me and say, I'll send you this, I'll send you that, but it doesn't mean that I stop praying, because every day I'm praying. I'm praying, because at some point somebody was praying for me when I was stuck. Somebody was praying for me, and I'm not saying that I've never been in that place. Like you said, it's growth. I had to grow in that place, because if you would have seen me back when CJ was little, I would like, I did not care, but God had to correct me on that. It's okay to be bold, but be bold within me. Treat people the way I want. I want you to be bold where you can say no, because you don't want people walking over you, but like I said, also God sees things that we don't see.
Absolutely.
And in people. So even in a situation with the lady at your job, you don't know what God's seeing.
That's
you
true.
don't know what was going on before you walked through the door. You don't know what was going on, what was said about. I'm not saying she's talking to me. I'm not saying, because I don't know, she might watch this podcast, so I'm not talking about you. But I'm just saying, you truth is truth. You don't know. Maybe
that's true, because while we're looking through the natural eyes and thinking one thing in retrospect, God sees the totality of it all. And so you have to be able to be okay with things ending, when they end, or accepting the time that you had in that relationship or friendship with the individual, because seasons change. And I know that people are in your life. God put peoples across your path for several reasons. Some are meant to be in your life for a lifetime. Some are meant to be in your life for a lesson. Some are, you know what I'm saying? So it's different things why God allowed people to connect and their paths to cross. Yet, the scripture tells us there's a time and a season for all things. And so if that's the case, dealing with my colleague and I'm okay with that. I don't begrudge the decision. It felt a little awkward, because she know that I know that, you know what I'm saying? And so even with her reaching out, I felt at that time that it was to save face.
because she probably knew what she did, and she probably like,
she knew that management was coming to me, so
she reached out to you before, man?
No, it was the same. It was the same day. It was the same day. That my superior, came to me and had the conversation, and so I get the text, right after, like immediately right after. So I thought that was weird. That made me feel a certain way. And then later on, when I was talking to my sister about it, and she was giving me some, concrete.
Sometimes you need that.
And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna give this my I'm not gonna give this my energy. But forgiveness is beneficial on so many levels, for your mental, for your physical. It's just a plethora of things. And if you can really be transparent and honest with yourself and say, okay, I'm not at the point where I want to forgive you. I am mad. You know what I'm saying? I am offended. I am hurt by this. Then you're able to start that train.
And I think, when you have that relationship with God, is I'm not gonna say it's not hard, but it's easy to go to him and say, God, I need help here. Because I know many times I'm in prayer, I'm like, look, God, like you've been waiting on me to come and tell you this. You gotta be honest with God. I'm in here praying, and you're like, oh, finally you come in here and telling me. I knew you had this going on. Every day I'm in there praying, but it's like I want to talk about it, but I felt like, but I was like, God, I need help.
Yeah.
Because and not because to talk to God, like I was talking to God, I was hurt.
Yeah.
I was blindsided, even though it is your will that this person we cross God, but God, I need you to help me with this because at some point you may bring them back in my life to be a blessing to me, and I may mess up on my blessing because I'm in my feelings. Like, Blair, guess what?
And
I'm in my feelings.
That's the thing right there, to be able to recognize and acknowledge where you're at in the offense, in that situation. And I was like, that, I didn't show it then. You know what I'm saying? And my feelings were hurt because I thought we had a rapport to where, you know what I'm saying, we could, but after I calmed down and like get over yourself, you know what I'm saying? Because it's really not all about you and how you feel and things to that nature. I was able to release it. And that's the thing. When we're harboring these grudges and things that we're giving our power
Yes, we are.
over to that thing and that individual, and that's what keep us stuck. That's what keep us bound. That's what keep us from not being able to move forward and hindering our own blessings and our own lives.
As we think about it, it's going to be on your mind at some point.
Yeah,
it's always going to be on your mind, and it's just like I said, like you said, it's a process. It's a hard thing at some point in our lives. And I think a lot of times we don't really, I know for me, I didn't really think about it until I got closer to God, whether it was me going to church, starting that relationship. And it's like, okay, even being in church, it still took me a long time to forgive my dad because I felt like, why I got to forgive him? I ain't did nothing to him.
Yeah.
I wasn't understanding that I hated my dad.
Wow.
Hate is a big thing.
It is. And so
I was understanding. I felt like I had the right to hate him because he left me. I was a kid, so I'm like, God, how is you gonna be mad at me because he left me as a kid? And he's a father. He's supposed to be a father. But what I didn't realize is that we have to like I said, I don't know what my dad was going through. And then he came and when I talked to him, he's very honest with me. He didn't lie about it. I was wrong. I shouldn't have left you, but I was hurt. He didn't know how to deal with his hurt. And at that point I understood him because at this point I'm getting over dealing with hurt from him. I just want to know, like, why? Nobody could tell me why. Everybody want to say, well, because of this. No, he needs to tell me why because you don't know why.
Right.
Only he knows and God knows.
Right.
And when that time comes, I'll know why. But it did help me with a lot. It helped me process a lot. It helped me. I don't think if I wouldn't have forgave my dad, I would have still been dealing with, like, I do deal with him passing because I think we talked about that last month. I could have had more time. But at the same time, I'm glad I did it because then I'll be sitting here sad all the time because I didn't get the time to say sorry and he ain't here no more. And one thing you said, I was sitting here looking at this book, but you said forgiveness helps us with healing.
It does.
All the things I wrote about in the second book wasn't until I wrote about stuff in here, but I had to go through a process. Even writing this book and going before I published this book, I still had to go through a process.
Yeah.
When I was writing both my books, I got to a certain chapter and God said stop. And he had to, I had to process all this stuff before I could write about it. I wrote about something in the first book that had to be taken out. That's in the second book now because the thing that was said to me by Kaisha, the lady that helped me publish my book, she said, I took something out and I knew what it was. She said, you're not healed right now on that. God's still working on you. I knew because how it came out in this book. Oh, it wasn't in that book like that. It was like, you can, even if the part, and it's not supposed to be an attack. It's supposed to tell my story to help somebody else. Now, what if she would have left that in there and you are dealing with that same thing, you read it? How are you going to heal?
Right.
And God's going to help me accountable because this book is out here. The world can buy this book. And they're going to say, oh, God changed her story? So that means that I can do this to the person that did it to me? No.
No, it doesn't. And that's what my first manuscript is dealing with. My first book is dealing with forgiveness. All the things that, I experienced and went through, it really allows you to, once someone offends you or betrays you and breaks that trust is broken. And so this is where the offense and the harm and the grudges and all that stuff comes in at because we're feeling like, I am the victim, and so that mindset and that mentality keeps us stuck in that cycle of forgiving and unforgiving. I think I do. I say I do, but I really don't, because when I hear this person's name, when I see them, these things start coming up. So once trust is broken, and that's a big part of forgiveness, it's hard for a lot of people to move beyond, that point right there. And although forgiving someone doesn't mean that you have to actually reconcile with them unless both parties or all parties are willing to work towards rebuilding, then I think that thing can be done. But you have to be totally transparent about where it is you are, what it is that you're feeling with. Because when that happened with my colleague, I prayed. I had to pray about it because self wanted to rise up. And self wanted to go and confront and why you just didn't come to me first? Why you just didn't tell me, what I'm saying? You wasn't staff on call and this and that and that. Even though it was put in the comm log that you staff on call. Why you didn't have that conversation with me before you know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, if I had allowed it to take root,
that's good.
You know what I'm saying? And sprout, then we would have had a situation in the workplace, and a lot of people have this workplace drama, you know what I'm saying, when things that, is really minute happen, not just on the workplace, in the home, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, father, son, mother, daughter, all these things that people get caught up in because they're the ones that felt like the victim. Or they're the ones that the harm or the offense was done to. And they can't it's not that they can't. They're not willing to go beyond that. They're not willing to let that go for the greater good of all. And just like, with your father's situation, you said you hated him. You wasn't willing to let that go because you felt
how I was felt. Right.
Yeah. And you had a reason to feel. Not saying that how you felt was wrong.
Yeah.
We have to validate, how a person feel. You had every right to feel how you felt, because that you were the one, you were a child. You ain't had no person, nothing with mom, dad, none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you were validated in how you felt, but you couldn't stay there.
Correct, yeah. I couldn't let it just hinder me, and which I did. So I did allow it to hinder me to a certain point to where it's like, what, Tanisha, just go do it. Just go, because, I can't be sitting here and he like 3 minutes away from a church. And, it's those things. But it was something that you said that I just want to say. One of my mentors, she did a video and she was saying that when it comes to, forgiving or before you react, she was like, when somebody says something or do something, process first, pray, then proceed. Because if you process it, is it really that serious for me to respond? Which you did. Because you knew if I respond, I'm going to be in stove. And you said, I prayed. And then you processed it. And I thought that was good because she said that when you ever have a problem, don't just, and that's me, I'm like, and then sometimes it's like, I'm like,
but I didn't always used to be that way. Is it worth opening
my mouth?
Yeah.
But it was still good that you noticed that. Like you said, you ain't always, but it took growth because this is probably you some years back. You probably wouldn't have processed nothing. You would have went to her desk or whenever you
went
seen
in her office and sat down. You didn't even have to tell me to have a seat. I would have grabbed a seat anyway. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what we have to learn to do. Do what you said. We have to process what was done and think about it. Is it worth saying something? Yes, we want to say something. Yes, our feelings are hurt, but is it worth saying something to where this ain't going to resolve nothing?
Yeah,
like you said, it's going to be workplace drama. Yeah. And then you could have lost your job because you were the one that approached her. And then whatever did happen, it was like, it was your fault, but you still could have been talked to. So you process okay, what I did was wrong, but the fact that she could have did it, but she didn't. So let's go from here. And sometimes, like I said, God probably knew, he probably did not want you to talk to her about nothing else. because he wants you to see where that trust was.
Yeah,
and that's where again,
absolutely.
maybe she hasn't did anything behind your back, but it's like, let me show you
Well,
how you because
how you viewing people or how you
Correct.
think think it is.
Correct.
Let me give you a reality check of what it really is, and I don't think that she meant it in a facetious type of way. I really don't think that was the case. Nevertheless, in my own mind, I'm thinking like we were close enough to where you should have been and comfortable enough because you talked to me about everything. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, that never should have got there. You know what I'm saying? There should have been something that you could have said, hey, Sam, let me holler at you. I'm not, the one. So when you call me at 1 or 2 a.m. in regards to, a victim or a survivor, you know what I'm saying? I'm not the person that you should have been calling, because I'm not really staffed on the call. It's not me. So it's just things like that, minute things that we give power to. We magnify things, bigger than what they should be. Now, I'm not talking about a person that has been violated, sexually violated, physically violated. Those things run deeper, than just any a mishap, at work or misunderstanding at work. Those things that are really heinous and really, really serious and really have people struggling to where they don't want to have no dealings with, I don't care if it's mother, father, sister, brothers, kids. They don't want to have any dealings with them. Those things run deeper. And those things really take time and prayer to really confront, acknowledge. There's about 7 steps to forgiving, to true forgiveness. And you're going to go through anger, you're gonna go through being mad, but when you get through all the 6 steps and you get to that 7th one, that's the one that you're gonna know that okay, I've let it go. You know what I'm saying? I actually forgive this person. I wish them well. I don't want no harm to come to them. Even though I may not give them access to me, you know what I'm saying, I still want the best for them. So when you can get to that point to where even though you were offended and you were the one that was wrong, and after you get finished going through all your stuff, you're angry, you're mad, you're venting, you want somebody to take sides with you, to be on your side. Yeah, girl, they shouldn't have did that. That was wrong. That was messed up. After you get through all that, and you can reach a place of maturity. And I will say that you cannot really get to true forgiveness without, seeking God's face and having God in the midst of everything that you're dealing with or that was done to you. So
and I think that goes with processing because even though and I was like when she was talking about trauma, trauma and all those aspects that you named, like it does take time for healing for that, but the process come where you have to realize you need help. Meaning you can go talk to a counselor, because where we grew up, everything happens in the house stays in the house, and that's not true.
That's
because everything that happened in the house stayed in the house, and that's why we all deal with trauma. At some point.
And jacked up.
And we can't talk about those things because no, my mom didn't allow me to be molested, but because of those words saying things, it makes you how parents act, or somebody just see that I did it with my son, but it still has to come where you have to process and say I need help, because it wasn't until I don't even know where it was, probably God to help me out with the situation of the being molested, but I still needed help when it came to my son and going to getting help for what happened with him, but I had to process that it was okay. God had to tell me it was okay. He had to show me the exact person to go to, because I think that's where we process it. But when we try to hold it in, and it takes more time when we can't process that we need help,
or willing to acknowledge that we
need help.
We need help. Well, I'm struggling in this area because I was, and after I got out the meeting, I was like, I'm driving home, and I'm like, this one for us, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, why she just, otherwise, why you just didn't, call me, have a conversation with me. And we can send ourselves through all these things. We can get on this merry-go-round. Why this, why that. But when we are able to,
Process
acknowledge
it,
it, like, okay, yeah, my feelings is hurt, because I thought we was better than that. But at the same time, be able to see beyond what I thought and for what it really is. Okay, well, maybe they're trying to build rapport with management, get in good grace. I don't know what the case may be. I just knew that I wasn't going to allow it to lord over me and have an awkward workspace.
Yeah, and I think that, like, going back, going to our topic, that was a good example. I think the biggest thing that we've been talking about, processing it when it comes to forgiveness, because that's the biggest thing. You have to process it and process it. You do have to be honest with yourself in the process. If you can't be honest with yourself that you know that you've done, because that's where all the stuff that I've, like, people have done stuff to me, I process. Did I do something? No. That is some God, and God be like, no. Okay, then I process that. I know that this is your will. And somewhere along the line, like with the whole situation, he had to separate you from that. So I learned that when things happen now going forward, you got to separate me from it. But I still need to process sometimes, because sometimes he may be testing me. It could be a simple thing where you say something to me. I could be right by wanting to respond because what you said was hurtful, but I also have to process, where were you at that day? Did you have a bad day at work? Did something happen in your life that caused you to do that? We don't do that a lot. We quick to just go. You don't know. So talking about our topic tonight about forgiving, yes, you need to forgive because it hinders you from so much. But it takes steps, as you said. It takes steps. It's a healing is 7 steps. So you got to go through that whole process. Go through the process of the 7 steps. And I'll look on our Facebook page, we'll list those 7 steps, because that is something that helps you when you see that and you don't know that there's 7 steps. Then you can go through the 7 steps and process it. And the biggest thing is that you want God to forgive you. Like, tomorrow's not promised.
It's
tonight.
not.
It's not promised.
It's not.
This next hour ain't promised when we walk up out of here. So where do you want to see yourself? Because what we have to realize, and what really began to scare me, is, I think I said in the last interview, talking about it's a heaven and hell.
It is.
If I die today, am I going? When you asked me about that last month, we talked about the suicide. I don't know where I'm going. So it's funny, but that is the truth.
Right.
And I don't think people know that when you close your eyes, you're going somewhere. Your body just don't stay.
There is life after death.
Yeah.
There is.
Your soul is going somewhere. So I just kind of want to piggyback on that, because I think we got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
This has been a great topic.
I'll say this before we end. In order to be able to minister and talk about certain things, you must first be a partaker of it.
Yeah.
And so even though I knew our topic coming into this, I didn't know that I was going to be faced with, what I'm saying? Right.
Yes.
A one-on-one real life situation to where I had to make a decision. Am I going to allow this to, lord over me? Am I going to allow, bitterness and anger to take root? You know what I'm saying? No, I see it for what it is. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the biggest, thing. That was a good example, because it's somebody that's probably going to watch this, no matter when they watch it, whether they watch it when it first aired, they could be down the line. It's somebody dealing with something now with workplace drama where they need to process what you just talked about, and they need to hear that. Or somebody dealing with being molested or raped, or somebody dealing with abuse. You have to, at some point, forgive. Is it easy? No, it's not. No. It takes steps. Yeah. And the biggest step is developing a relationship with God if you don't have one. Start, like when I started, I didn't just jump in and I couldn't fast for no 12 hours. I started, okay, God, an hour. I'm going 2 hours. I'm going 5. You know what? I'm going to take it to the next step. It's a process with everything that we do, but you want to develop this relationship with God, because when you have that time, when I begin to get closer, oh my goodness, like God reveals so many things, like I can hear him clearly. And I think that's the thing. We are so stuck in self, like we said. But I know we'll come back to this again, because it's so much, and I know we got to wrap this up. but it's been a great topic. I like how you talked about the workplace thing, and you just it's bits and pieces that just help the processing. It takes steps. Mm-hmm. Do I want it to hinder me? Do I want to have drama? Like, these are all things that people got to think about, not just with the workplace.
Right.
That's the same thing. Do you want to have drama with other people? But we're going to wrap it up. Anything else? Because I can go on. This is a good topic.
Well, we want you to know that, forgiveness is not easy, yet Matthew states, if we do not forgive others of their offense, our Heavenly Father will not forgive us. Yes. And grace and mercy is His to give. It's not something that, I'm saying, we just take upon ourselves, haphazardly. It is up to Him to give grace and mercy, and He gives it. Is plentiful every day. It's renewed every day. But don't get to the point and think that, just because God's mercy is new every morning, that it's extended to me, because His mercy, will come to a head at some point in your life. So you don't want to be caught out there on the limb. If you're dealing with unforgiveness, if you think that, you've forgiven someone and you hear their name, you see them, and all these things come back, then I want to encourage you to revisit that thing. Be real with yourself and acknowledge the fact that, I'm still hurt about this situation. And then inquire of God. Seek God's face in helping you to move beyond what it is that you feel, because feelings can have us stuck in a place far too long than what we should be.
That is good. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at GCMS Capitalized God Changed My Story. Please also check out our Facebook page so that you can see more about our books. What we talked about tonight, there's a lot in these books that talks about that. And also, go back and look at February that we talked about forgiveness. It talks more about what she said in Matthew. So go back and look at these things if you are dealing with unforgiveness, and just ponder it. So I want to go ahead.
I do list the 7 steps in my book that deals with forgiveness.
And I will make sure that you can check that out now. It's going to be on the Facebook page. But we want to go ahead and wrap this up. I hope that whoever needs to see this have seen it, and please share it with somebody. Like it, subscribe, whatever you need to do. It was an amazing topic tonight.
Yes.
And we pray that you guys have a blessed and wonderful night.
All right.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.